Good afternoon, everyone. This is episode 18 of the Break-Thru Active podcast. We are here in the gym on Friday afternoon before we have our sessions kicking off here. So we wanted to jump on and do a quick podcast with you guys. And as always, I am here with Jamie.
Hello everyone, how are you? It is the end of our first week since gyms have reopened. Been a phenomenal week getting everyone back in the gym and seeing them all face to face. However, during the week we've both heard just a few comments and a few, I guess members have mentioned the same thing to us over the last week, and we're not really happy about it.
No, well, we have heard a lot of people who have been obviously very sore after their first couple of sessions back, and there's a different range of our members. We've had some who have been very active throughout the last couple of months in lockdown. We've had some who have been sort of hit and miss, a little bit more semi-active, and then we've had those who have done just about nothing since we closed our doors about 3 months ago. But what we've been hearing, apart from the obvious soreness and everything that's involved with that, we've had a lot of people being very hard on themselves in regards to how they've let themselves slide here in the last few months, and we feel as though they've been getting a little bit down on themselves, and that's what we wanted to address today, because there is a lot to unpack in regards to how we do treat ourselves and how we can be our own harshest critic. But we just wanted to do a bit of a dive into the mental side of things when it comes to getting back into training, especially after a situation like we've all been in here since March.
Yeah, if we were to say it, if we were to wrap this topic up, it would simply be to be kind to yourself. All week I've heard I put on weight, I've lost so much fitness, I'm nowhere near as strong as I used to be. We just went through a pandemic, gyms were closed, we were stuck inside. It was bound to happen, and you're not alone. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that 99.9% of people have taken a step backwards. I'm very, very, very thankful and grateful that I had access to a gym, as did Mitch. Otherwise, I would have been in the exact same boat.
Yeah, and for the first time in 100 years since the Spanish flu, or maybe sort of 70 or 80 years since World War II, when we were confined to our own homes for a certain period of time, it's been the first time since we've had to be indoors, and we've literally not had the control to be able to go out and do what we want to be able to do. And for respect of what we're talking about here today, it is going and working out in the group and with us, like all of you guys have been. So we just wanted to discuss that a little more, because it is very easy for you to get down on yourself and to reflect on where you were back in March and maybe what weight you were, or how fit you were, or how strong you were. But at the end of the day, that's not really going to do you any good. And we want to talk a little more about mindset and about attitude, because having a positive mindset and a positive attitude here moving forward is going to be really important to help get that positive routine back in your life. And being really hard on yourself is not really going to get you anywhere at all. So we just wanted to talk about that, and also just cover a few ways that we can address ways in which we can help you sort of keep that positive mindset moving forward here.
And I truly believe that you can talk yourself into a bad mood as you can talk yourself into a good mood. And if you're constantly putting yourself down, I'm so out of shape, I can't do this, why am I bothering, I should just give up, what if the second wave comes too, I'll lose all this progress, it was easier when I was younger, my knee's sore. If you're just constantly coming up with reasons of why this isn't for you, or why you shouldn't be here, or how you've regressed, it's just not good for you, good for yourself mentally.
No, and like Jamie mentioned earlier, the very large, vast majority of us have taken a bit of a step backwards here in the last 3 months. So instead of looking at that as a negative, look at it as a positive and think that there is room for improvement. And that might sound very simple and may seem very obvious, but looking at this starting point here now, so your first week back, and then taking a look back at this week, in whether it be 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and seeing how far you've come in that period. And we've spoke about this in previous podcasts, where we're talking about how long it does actually take to regain strength and fitness, and even perhaps shift some of that weight that you have put on. And for most of it, it is only going to be a few weeks if you are able to get yourself back into that sound routine, perhaps clean up that nutrition a little more, be a little more active, outside of the gym too, improving your sleep and doing all those other things that are going to improve on your health as well. But we are talking a matter of weeks. Now, when we look at the last 3 months, and obviously that wasn't optimal, the fact that we can undo all of that negative that we experienced in the last 3 months in 3 to 4 to maybe 6 weeks, we feel as though it's a really big positive, and looking ahead as opposed to where you've been is going to be the best way to approach it.
I spoke to a guy yesterday. He weighs 130 kilos. Years and years and years of not making, I guess, the best choices for his health. And his goal is to lose 30 kilos before the end of the year. So that's about 30 weeks away. And if you can undo years and years and years of bad habits in 6 months, that is definitely a fair deal. And the same rules applies. If you've had 3 months off, it's going to take a matter of weeks. However, if you just constantly talk down to yourself, if you constantly criticize yourself, if you constantly, how am I going to say this, Mitch? Lost the words here. First time ever. It's just, I cannot stand negativity. Sometimes we have discussions with our members, and they just come up with reasons of why they can't do it, and it just really bothers me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And talking about that sort of time frame, that three-month period, I look back at when I was a little younger, and I did a lot of traveling. And one of my trips, I went to America for 3 months, which is exactly how long you guys have had off since we closed our doors. And I was 21, and I was in America, and I ate a lot and I drank a lot, and I did little to no exercise, and I came back 5 or 6 kilos heavier, and I had lost a lot of muscle, and any fitness that I may have had before was gone. And after that, I knew that it was going to be tough for those first few weeks, but after a month I was back to where I was previously. And it is very easy in times like that or times like now to just throw it all in together or dwell on where you've been, in a better position previously. So my best advice would be to use this as a bit of a reset. So instead of thinking this is where I was 3 months ago, this is what I was lifting, this is how fit I was, look at where you are now and make some short-term goals here for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And we will help, with goal setting, and we are going to be doing some fitness testing and things, which is going to be really helpful for this process as well. But we really feel as though if you give it a good month in here, in the gym, start to eat a little bit better, you will not only regain the strength and fitness that you've lost, but also be able to add to that. And we feel as though you'll be fitter and stronger than you were 3 months prior to this.
Yeah, and going with what Mitch said, I would have had about 2.5 years off all training. From 2013 to about 2015, when I had 3 operations back to back, and I lost about 15 kilos of muscle.
For the first time ever, my biceps were a lot bigger than Jamie's.
Yeah, I think it was a point in 2015. I weighed 79 kilos. It was the first time since I've known Mitch that I actually weighed less than him, and it took me about 6 months, and my biceps were bigger than Mitch's again.
Haven't looked back. So it's just, once you have that foundation, once you have acquired those skills in regards to your weight training, it really is just getting back into a routine and just 3 or 4 sessions a week, just like you were doing previously. And having that foundation, not only should you get back to where you were, you can continually to improve upon that. And the other thing too is, instead of looking at it as a negative, look at it as a positive. Like, maybe before COVID you were bored of the gym. Maybe before COVID you weren't enjoying your training. The gym was taken away from you, and now you realize just what an important part of your life it has become, and just embrace it. I think as well you need to look at things that you can control and things you can't. So to an extent, we could not control anything, in respect to coming in and going to the gym here in the last 3 months. And yes, we had the stuff we could be doing at home, which some of you guys did very well with. But, you guys all enrolled with us with group fitness and group training because you felt as though that was the best fit for you, that you felt as though that was the best fit for you to be able to see progress and to be able to achieve the results you wanted. And that got taken away from you. So that was completely out of your control. Now, yes, perhaps you could have done a little more at home, but that's been and that's gone, and there's no point dwelling on that. There's no point thinking about where you were prior. You need to look at where you're at now, set some short-term goals like I mentioned before, set a time frame for that as well. So have a period, whether it be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and whether it is weight related, strength related, fitness related, and make sure you're diligent with that and accountable to that. And that's where we can come in and help you stay accountable with your training here in the gym. And we really do feel as though after that amount of time, 6 weeks or 8 weeks, you'll look back and you'll be thinking, okay, it almost feels like a lifetime ago that I did have that 3 months away from the gym, and all will be forgotten and we'll be back on that road forward.
And I think we're both huge advocates of self-awareness, understanding that, hey, like, I may have put on 3 or 4 kilos, but I've never said to Mitch in my life, geez, I'm fat. I can't believe how unfit I am. It's just, some of the language that we've heard this week, it's just been a little bit concerning, and just that negative self-talk, it has to stop. Because if you're saying that out loud, like it just continues.
And it's okay to be honest with yourself and honest with us and say, I haven't done much training in the last few months and my fitness has decreased. But there's a difference between saying that and walking in and repeatedly saying, I'm so unfit, I have no strength, I'm so out of shape, I've put on so much weight.
Yeah, and you can ask yourself a better question. So instead of saying, I'm so fat, maybe I should quit, it should be, I put on 3 or 4 kilos throughout COVID. It's a challenging time. I am so excited to get into the gym. I wonder what I can achieve next.
Yeah,
One question leaves you unhappy, and there's fear and anxiety and uncertainty. And the other question gives you this enormous possibility of what you can achieve next. And you can achieve lots because you already had that foundation.
Yeah, and when you are starting from scratch, it does take a good amount of time to build that foundation of strength and that foundation of fitness. But the good news for all of our members is you already have that. It's just gone on the wayside a little bit here in the last 3 months. So it definitely doesn't take as much time to regain as it does to build from scratch. So just the fact of knowing that should be motivating for you guys to want to get back into the gym, stay consistent with your training. And we've had great attendance this first week. But like Jamie mentioned, just a little bit of a I guess, red light in terms of some of the language and how we've heard people speaking about themselves, and we feel as though it is very negative and something we wanted to address. So for you, Jamie, if someone was to come up to you this afternoon here when we're running sessions and say, I feel as though I've lost everything, I was working out so well before and it's all gone to shit, what would your response be to them?
I would continue to probe and ask them, well, what have you actually lost? How much weight have you actually put on? How long do you think that will take you to lose? What is your plan to get your fitness back? And it just goes back to that better quality of question. Instead of asking a poor question and getting a poor response or a poor answer, just ask good quality questions and you'll find a good answer.
I think as well that people can be a little bit overstated with that as well. They might feel as though that they've lost everything, they've lost all strength. And I've felt like that when I've had a weekend away before and I haven't worked out for a few days and I've eaten and drank all weekend. I feel like I've never, we joke about it. We feel as though we come back and we haven't lifted a weight or done a lick of exercise for 12 months. So I think that the feeling that some of you guys have, and obviously that's accompanied with sore muscles and DOMs and things, but I think the feeling is a lot worse than the reality of it. So taking some time just to really evaluate where you are at. Yes, you might be a little slower when you're doing burpees. Maybe you can't run quite as far. Maybe you are going from a 20 kilo kettlebell to a 16 kilo kettlebell. But again, that's not a massive change. It's not like you have lost everything. You have just regressed. Maybe it is 10%, 15%. And like I said before, looking at the road ahead, and like Jamie said, really being honest with yourself and having a plan that you want to implement for yourself moving forward.
Yeah, and I have a little thumb injury at the moment. It's very annoying, but I had a week off training the first week of COVID, and the entire week I was miserable. I was coming here, we were filming.
Yeah, he was, trust me.
We were filming, And then I had 7 days off, which was the longest period I've had off training in probably like years, to be honest. And then I remember that Friday morning, the first week after COVID, I came here, I lifted weights, and I felt instantly better, and my mood improved. And it is cliche, but you're all one good workout away from a good mood. When people start diets and people start eating healthy, if you eat healthy for 2 or 3 days, you feel incredible. You might not look incredible still, but you feel incredible. And Mitch mentioned it before, the feeling is often quite worse than the objective results.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes to fitness and strength as well. You know, something that may have felt quite comfortable before, like I said, a kettlebell or dumbbells that you used to use quite comfortably. A lot of that just comes back to how it even feels in your hand. A lot of you guys probably haven't had 2 dumbbells in your hand for 3 months. So that will feel foreign, so therefore it is going to be harder. Fitness, but if you used to be able to do 10 burpees in a minute, now you're puffing your way through 9. Like you do notice that, especially if you do have a bit of a metric to use. But when you really think about it, it isn't that much difference. And that's where we're firm believers that some regular training here for the next few weeks, and I know I've said it a few times now, but I really want to emphasize the point that 3 to 4 to 5 weeks of training here and good nutrition, and you will not only be back where you were before, but you will have pushed past that and even be fitter and stronger than you were before. So I think that is something we all need to remember, and something that really should help you stay motivated here for the first month.
And you've had 12 weeks off, so the question I'd ask you is what's your other alternative? Is it have 12 more off?
Exactly. And that's not really an option for the people we've spoke to this week. And again, it's not a huge thing for everybody, but we've just had a couple of good conversations with people, and there has been a few alarm bells ringing just with the language that we've heard. So that's part of why we did want to discuss that in a bit more detail. And like Jamie said before, it is important to be kind to ourselves. We have been through a big ordeal, I'm not talking about just Jamie and I, but everybody. There's been some massive changes in employment, massive changes in lifestyle, massive changes with schooling and daycare and everything that's associated with that.
These are the 4 things that lead to weight gain typically. It is eating more calories, it is reducing your activity, it is an increase in systemic stress, so just generally more stress in your life, and poor sleep. Now, the pandemic has helped those 4 things flourish.
Yeah, for some people, all 4 of those things would have got worse. And if you have experienced some weight gain, it's no surprise if you have seen a bit of a decrease in all of those things. So you just need to understand that this has been an absolute once-in-a-century type situation. Hopefully we have seen the end of it, but be kind to yourself. Realise that there has been a lot of changes, and your health may have taken a bit of an impact, and your fitness might have taken a bit of a hit, and your strength as well. But just know that we have been through a lot, all of us, and now that we are seeing some positive change in how life as we know it is being lived, be kind to yourself. Put that to the side, put that on the back burner, and just look ahead. And it really is a great chance to hit the reset button and focus on something new. And
the other way to frame it too is just be grateful. Be grateful just for these amazing facilities all over Newcastle that you get to attend with your friends and work out together.
What facilities are they?
Well, they're Break-Thru Active Cardiff, Break-Thru Active Adamstown.
Yeah, they're the main 2.
And there are other good gyms in the area.
There is.
We can't lie. But what an amazing experience for you to come here a couple of times a week with your friends. It might be the best part of your day. And I'm certainly grateful because Scott from marketing originally said that we'd be closed until October, and it's June 15, when we open Monday, we're back in the gym. It could have been much, much, much worse.
Yeah, well, I think perspective again is a great thing to keep in mind. And even watching the Knights play on telly last night, they I think had 50 spectators.
Did they?
And yeah, so Nelly, who is one of our members, is a long-serving Newcastle Knights member, and she was telling me that they were, doing like a draw for 50 of their members to be able to go to the game because the game was down at Gosford. But what an experience to be able to be one of 50 people at a football game. Now, 3 months ago or last season, the thought of being able to go to a football game was taken for granted. I went to half a dozen games last year and didn't blink an eye. But now, the next time I go and see the Knights play, whenever that may be, I know I'm going to be super excited, and I am absolutely not going to take that for granted because, like I said before, I think perspective is a wonderful thing, and being able to go and watch live sport, and the same way it is being able to go to the gym and be around people in a group is something that everybody has taken for granted in the past, but keeping that in mind, I think, is a very good way to be grateful for what we have.
Another way you can view it too, I'm speaking to a lot of you right now, before you joined our program, you may have had years of exercise, literally years. So think about
years off exercise.
Oh, yeah. And just think about how far you've come to the point that now you're dying to get back into exercise. And if you have 3 months off, it's become such a part of your life that now it's a massive issue that you were not exercising.
I think that's a very positive change in people's mindset because, like you said, if we have someone who's 40 years old and they got started with us when they were 39, there's a chance that they haven't done any structured exercise for 10 or 15 years. And having 3 months off structured exercise is damn near killed them. So I think that shows a lot about them and how much of a change they've made mentally. Now they are associating themselves with being someone who trains regularly, and the thought of not having it in their life has been dire. So think of that as a positive. Think that you have made some very positive change in the way you view activity, in the way you view training. And what we're hoping and what we're aiming to help you guys with is to ensure that that is something that you maintain moving forward. And the thought of having time off again, we want that to be a scary thought. And again, not to take it for granted. Be regular with your training, make the most of what you've got, and we'll obviously be here and happy to help you along the way.
Yeah, and when the majority of you first join our program, or any program, you see the best results in those first couple of weeks. That's what gets you hooked on exercise. Great news for you all. It's going to happen again right now. Yeah. You're going to see drastic improvements in regards to your strength, your fitness, your sleep, and your nutrition. All at once, all over again, except now you have an even better starting foundation now than you did when you originally joined us a few years ago. So all signs point, it's all good. All signs are positive.
Yeah, it's those newbie gains. So your body does reach that point of homeostasis where it does have a new standard of what normal is. If someone is really active for 12 months, and then let's say they have an active position at work, and then they start working behind the desk and it becomes more sedentary, there's a good chance that your body is not going to be used to that lack of activity, and you can sometimes experience weight gain because your body has adapted to that new activity level from the previous 12 months. And like Jamie mentioned, that's effectively what's happened here. For those of you who were training 3, 4, 5 times a week, and maybe that hasn't been consistent in the last 3 months, jumping back in and getting your body back used to that regular training, regular resistance training, regular cardiovascular training, and you should not only see great results in your training, but we feel as though as long as that nutrition is being followed too, then you're going to see some great improvements in your body composition too. So really hitting both those, I guess, heads of improvement in performance and then also in body composition. So there's a lot to be excited about.
Absolutely. Now, next podcast, we're doing it on Wednesday. I'm very, very excited for this. We're interviewing a friend of mine. His name's Justin Smith. Justin is a podiatrist at Achieve Podiatry. Some of you may know I've been battling issues in my left foot for a few years after I had a knee surgery, from plantar fascia, often referred to as a heel spur, metatarsalgia, which is pain in your forefoot, Achilles calf pain, and Justin has been phenomenal. I saw him once. He showed me this simple strapping technique and it worked instantly. And when we see members in pain here, we often refer them to a physio or a podiatrist. And so I think hearing it from Justin and his level of expertise, it's just going to be a great opportunity for you guys that might be experiencing some pain, that you are just one appointment away from making improvements in that realm too. Yeah,
it's something that I feel like every other week I'm talking to someone about a knee injury or a back issue or a foot issue or hip pain, and the response is always the same. It's going get it checked out. And we have a few different people who we do refer them onto or who we suggest, but unfortunately 9 times out of 10 these people don't really take us up on our recommendation, and obviously that's absolutely their decision, but we want to just provide a little more information on other allied health professionals and how they can help, because like Jamie mentioned, if someone in here does have foot pain and they are needing some help, there's a good chance if they don't receive that help, then their training is not only going to be affected, but their training could end up coming to a halt due to a more serious injury. So we are huge advocates for getting the necessary help required.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, plantar fasciitis, it's like having a piece of glass in your shoe.
Sounds nice.
That's the best way to describe it. And 1 in 10 people get it throughout their life. We've had hundreds of members probably have it before.
It's very common.
It's very common. And there is a simple strapping technique, if done during its early stages, can relieve that injury, and it can heal very fast. What you don't want to do is let plantar fasciitis, it's a hard word to say, go on for months and months and months. Then that tissue begins to degenerate, and then it's a whole new injury, and you're looking at months and months to heal it. So I guess the whole point of Justin coming on is, if you have an injury, if you have any aches and pains, do the right thing and go get it checked out. If you think having 3 months off exercise was bad due to a pandemic, imagine having all your friends in here still training, and you have time off training due to a foot injury or an Achilles injury or a calf injury. It is absolutely demoralizing. I know, because I had 2.5 years off training with my shoulders and my knee. So one of the most important things for staying on track with your training is just ensuring that your body is healthy.
Yeah, and it might only feel like a niggling injury, or it might only be something that flares up when it's cold, but bad news is it's going to be cold for the next 3 or 4 months, and it's going to be cold for 4 or 5 months out of the 12 every year. So we can't really just put it down to the weather, or when you sleep on it the wrong way, or because you were doing a lot of work at the desk. I mean, there are going to be flare-ups for sure, but if it is something that is recurring and it's not just an absolute one-off, then you should be going to get it checked out, because niggling injuries can turn to more serious injuries. And then when we are seriously injured, not only is our training affected, perhaps we can't do as much as we'd like to inside the gym, or even worse than that, we can't do anything at all. And that is a lot worse than the thought of having to go and see a specialist for it.
Yeah, and speaking from experience, if my training isn't there due to an injury, typically my food is much worse. And it is just an avalanche effect from not training to eating poor, and then you rush back into exercise and you re-injure it, and that cycle continues. So we want you to stay healthy. I've seen a lot of physiotherapists, I've seen a lot of podiatrists, and we would only refer you to ones that we trust 100%. Justin is one of them, and one of our members, Felicity, is also a part of that program.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to having him on and just discussing, I guess we'll talk about podiatry a little bit, but also just talking a little more about the importance of staying healthy, and he'll be able to give a really good perspective on how he views as though we can not only help people inside the gym here, but also if people are needing a little bit of extra assistance, the avenues that you guys can take to make sure that you're in good care.
All right, last thing with the day, Mitch. Let's finish off the topic. Why we should be kind to yourself. Why is that so important?
Well, I think when it comes to training, and we've spoke about motivation and discipline before, so much of it is the mental side and your mindset and the mental state that you have. And if you're beating yourself down and being really hard on yourself, you really need to take a step back and have a bit of a bird's eye view of that and think, what good is that doing you? If it is somehow positively motivating you to train more and be more consistent, then it's a bit of a different story. But for most people, we feel as though being really hard on yourself and, like you said, not being as kind to yourself as you should be doesn't really have any positive benefit to it. So I feel as though really analysing where you're at with your mental state at the moment, and just think back to some of the conversations you've had either with us or with family members or anyone through the last week. And if you are someone who has been saying, geez, I'm unfit, or, I feel so overweight, or I'm so weak now, then you really need to have a bit of a self-assessment with that and start to knock that out of yourself, because we feel as though that, a lot of the time we can speak things into existence. So, starting to be more positive with yourself, and we feel as though that's going to have a great flow-on effect with your training and your mindset too.
Perfect response. All right, guys, thank you for listening. Have a lovely, lovely day. We'll be back with another episode next week. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks again.
Bye.